about to do it right now, and then I'll come to you. I don't know how. Oh wait, I'm streaming. Sorry. What is going on?
Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. Got you covered. Traditional leagues, Dynasty League, PPR League, IDP League, even Daily Fantasy Football League. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
What's going on, y'all? We're back. More GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast action brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Super excited to be here. My name is Austin. I am your host. Back again today on the Patreon. If you're here, obviously you're subscribed, and we thank you for that. Thank you for joining the Patreon. We're here to give you that exclusive content that you can't get anywhere else. And today I'm talking about my favorite quarterbacks that I want to talk about going into week 3. And let's just get right into it, guys. Let's get straight into it. Talking about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had a better game in week 3, just a little bit better. Still not the fantasy performance that we were looking for by any means at all, but his stat line, he went 26 for 49, 259 yards, and 1 pick, no touchdowns. Obviously, he was able to get Jamar Chase going a little bit, and the rest of the crew somehow came out with a win in this game without throwing any deep balls. We'll get into it right now. Had his most passing yards of the season with 259 in week 3, so a bit promising, but he was also going up against the worst coverage in the entire league, being the Rams defense, graded by PFF as the worst coverage in the entire league. So I'm not going to look too deeply into this 259-yard game. He was obviously missing a lot of throws. He overthrew Chase a couple times, overthrew a couple other wide receivers on those sideline routes, those sideline throws, and this doesn't really look like himself. I don't know if it's the calf that's bothering him or what the deal is, because he just can't throw the deep ball. He might not have any power. He doesn't look very mobile either. He already wasn't a very mobile quarterback, but obviously the calf issue is just going to play into that even more and make that more of a bruising glare in his game. I'm just glad that Jamar Chase had a good game, because that's my guy. That's my fantasy guy. I'm glad that he finally was able to do something, and Joe Burrow was able to get him involved. And obviously, if he just leans on him, that's the guy that you can lean on in any situation to get open, especially in one-on-one. If you can find him, he's going to make that play for you 9 times out of 10. In this week 3 matchup, Joe Burrow, 49 passing attempts, and only 49 passing attempts, only got to 259 yards. When you throw the ball 50 times, it's pretty much a guarantee that you should be getting to like 300-ish yards, and he only got to 260-ish, averaging 5.3 yards per carry, or yards per pass, 5.3 yards per attempt. And the passes obviously not very, very good. In the coming weeks, though, it's going to look a lot better for him. Hopefully, he's scheduled to face 3 of the bottom 10 coverages in the entire league before his bye. He'll go Titans, Cardinals, and Seahawks, and they're all ranked in the bottom 10 and have bottom 10 coverage grades. So maybe Joe will be able to pick it up. We don't know, man. It's very not telling. I thought Joe was going to come out firing week 1, and then week 2 I was back on him. Thought he was going to have another great day, and then week 3 he finally has an average day. Hits is over or whatever, but just can't really get it done. I think the injury is the main factor getting to him, and probably the dollars in his bank account are now, making him nervous or something. It's very funny to see, but praying for the best. 8 in fantasy football, pretty solid, except for just the fact that they lost by 50 points, in a vacuum. I would say that, 23 for 38, 306 yards and a touchdown, only 1 interception is a good game in a vacuum. Obviously, they were able to throw the ball a lot more because they're already down so much. But just to me, in this year, he's just looking a lot better, looking a lot faster, looking a lot stronger. And, in this 50-point blowout that they were hand-delivered, I think he really got some much-needed reps with his team. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy just came back, so that's going to be good for them. Marvin Mims looks like a very talented rookie out of Ohio State. And then Sutton has been their most solid guy the whole time. I really do like Russell Wilson. I don't want to give up on him, just being from Colorado and knowing that he's just a goofball at the end of the day. Russ is just kind of a goofball, and you can't really take him too seriously. He's a good quarterback. He's skilled, and if he has the right weapons around him and the right line and all that stuff, he's the type of quarterback that can get the job done and can win a Super Bowl, which he's already shown us before. Just want to highlight Marvin Mims one more time because that dude is very, very good, and I think he has a bright future in the NFL for sure. Let's talk Lamar Jackson, currently sitting at quarterback 7. If you think about it, Lamar Jackson, quarterback 7. Russell Wilson is only 1 spot behind him at quarterback 8. So definitely putting up fantasy numbers. Not a guy that I'm afraid to start or in a DFS league. Probably going to be down, just like how we talk about with C.J. Stroud, that type of guy where their team just loses a lot. So that means more volume for quarterback. This guy, his team should probably be winning more games in Lamar Jackson, but only one difference between quarterback 7, Lamar Jackson, and quarterback 8, Russell Wilson. But Lamar, pretty good week in week 3, 22 for 31, 202 yards in the air, and then added in 14 carries for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. Totaled up to 28.18 fantasy points, which is going to get it done in most weeks for all fantasy managers. Couldn't get it done in the win category because obviously they lost to the Colts right at the end. Colts and Gardner Minshew in overtime. Kind of a heartbreaker there. I think they win that game most of the time, but this was just not one of those times. Like how he's been playing all season, though. Talking about Lamar, and he went 24 for 33, 237 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air in week 2. Added in 12 carries for 54 yards. I love the fact that he's getting those 10-plus carry games. He's just going to have more chances to do more things with the ball, and he's the most dangerous running. He's not, he's still good at passing. People like to say that Lamar Jackson's, a running back like Justin Fields or something. There's levels to this stuff, man. There's absolutely levels, and Lamar is at the actual quarterback level. Justin Fields is down a couple, at least 2 or 3 levels when it pertains to quarterback play. And Lamar is showing that he passed for 200-plus yards in his last 2 games, and he's just taking over with the feet when he needs to. He's also the best closer in football, if y'all didn't know. He's definitely the ball in his hands, and they have the 3 timeouts to try to get the ball back. you know where the ball's going. The ball's going straight to Lamar Jackson, and that's just something I love to see. Being a closer, and not being afraid of the moment to go after it, and just win for your team in that moment. That's why I love Lamar Jackson. Let's talk next about another impressive quarterback that went off in Week 3 in Kirk Cousins. Currently sitting at quarterback 2 in fantasy football, put up a calm, easy 25.68 fantasy points in his Week 3 matchup versus the Chargers. I think we all saw this coming. Came as a surprise to pretty much nobody from Kirk Cousins and this ridiculous Vikings offense that can't really run the ball but can pass with the best of them. Kirk has gone over 340 yards in all 3 weeks of football so far. Went 32 for 50, 367 yards and 3 touchdowns in Week 3. He's looking efficient enough, man. There's a lot of guys like Kirk Cousins out there. Kirk Cousins is not a one-of-one. I was talking about this earlier. Jimmy Garoppolo, handsome Kirk Cousins. Justin Herbert, athletic Kirk Cousins. Everybody's a Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins is just the main Kirk Cousins, who is just like a standard quarterback, a standard solid quarterback that can pretty much make every throw that he needs to. If he has weapons, he's gonna actually do damage, and he's showing that right now that he has weapons and he has no problem sitting in the pocket and firing darts to these guys. I actually like that he's thrown 2 interceptions so far. Only 2 interceptions through 3 games, so not that bad. But I literally like it because he's taking chances down the field to look for his athletes, and that's what this Vikings team needs. They need a guy who's going to be aggressive, push the ball downfield, because they're not going to be getting the yards through the ground with Alexander Madison per se. He was doing a little bit of receiving too, so I didn't hate to see that. Just don't think he's the elite running back that they need in that offense, and obviously that's why they got Cam Akers and they traded for him. But 340 yards in the first 3 weeks. He's performing, and 2 of the next 3 weeks he plays against Carolina, and then he also plays against Chicago. So those defense should be absolute Swiss cheese for Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, and obviously Kirk Cousins. Guys, when I come back, we're going to talk a little bit about tight ends. We're talking quarterbacks and tight ends because these are the guys that get forgotten in fantasy football. It's all about the running backs and wide receivers, so definitely come back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. No time to waste. No time to waste at all. And, these are my Patreon segments. Thank y'all for taking the time to subscribe to the Patreon. And, we really appreciate y'all, the whole GSMC crew, Andrew Tate and company. If y'all don't know, GSMC Andrew Tate is our leader. Not that Andrew Tate, but if you look him up, very renowned in sports casting, very good guy. Give him a shout out because Andrew Tate is really that man. But let's get into my tight end talk, guys. Just some tight end talk. And tight end has been a weird one in fantasy this year. It's been an absolute question mark. Looking at the top 5 tight ends right now, probably not the guys that you would expect to be the top 5 tight ends in fantasy football right now, so I'll list them off for you real quick. Hawkinson at 1, Sam Laporta at tight end number 2, Hunter Henry at tight end number 3, and then Evan Ingram at tight end number 4, Kelsey at 5. Obviously, probably would have been at 1 if he didn't miss week 1. These other guys have already played 3 games, and Kelsey's only at 2. So, technically, he should be at 1 or 2. Hawkinson has been popping off. But Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram, and Laporta looks real. I'm going to be really honest. He looks extremely fast, extremely shifty. I was all over his college tape, just like seeing who this guy really was. He didn't really put up that many stats in college, but you could see the potential was absolutely there, and he's someone that is an absolute steal. If you had him, we're able to draft him really late, and someone I like in fantasy football right now. Let's start though. I got 4 tight ends that I kind of want to highlight and talk about that are either going through it or doing really well. And the first guy that I want to talk about is tight end number 9 in fantasy football right now, Darren Waller. Darren Waller being tight end 9 in fantasy after all this hype, after everybody and their mom, wasted their fifth round pick on Darren Waller, and he really hasn't done much this year. It's kind of disappointing. Only 26 total fantasy points through 3 weeks. Fell off again in week 3 with only 3 receptions for 20 yards. Had 7 targets, so obviously the volume and the target share is there. They're obviously playing the 49ers too and getting smacked. Not a lot you can do when you're playing that 49ers defense. Fred Warner, Hofunga, what have you. All these beasts that are, just waiting to take your head off in the middle of the field. So I don't really blame Darren Waller for having that bad of a game, but it's just like another time that he showed that he can't perform when it's good on good. Like really good on good, he's just not getting it done. Against the toppest tier talent. In the next, my bad. In his first 3 weeks, he literally went up against San Francisco and Dallas. So those are good guys. We can give him the benefit of the doubt this time, maybe. But if he continues to, not perform and not show us that he's a beast in the next couple games, we may be off the Darren Waller train, and there's nothing we can do about it. There's really nothing we can do about it. Next guy we want to talk about real quick, going to be George Kittle, sitting at tight end number 7 right now. George Kittle, a freaking monster. This guy can block with the best of them, catch with the best of them. He's literally an elite athlete. If I didn't know better, I would think he was like a power lifter or a guy who just owns a gym that is silly, goofy, and you see all his commercials and stuff. You see him every time the sky cam is there. He's just a silly guy, and I don't really think he cares too much about his stats per se. It seems like a complete team first guy, someone that if you were in the 49ers locker room and you were a player and you were having a sad day or an issue, that he would come up to you or something like that. Just like an empath in general, but he's kind of like the opposite of Darren Waller. He has all the abilities, and he's done everything to prove it in many spots, but he just decides to be an O-lineman some of the times. Week 3, he did not really do that. He didn't want to be a lineman. He decided he wanted to be a receiver in week 3. Popped off 7 receptions for 90 yards. Just looked like the most dominant guy on the field, in my opinion. Absolutely looked like a force of nature. Nobody could mess with him on that Giants defense, and it doesn't seem like, maybe Thibodeau, but even then, George Kittle he works harder. He works harder, and I love to see it. Target-wise, he's getting some targets. He's getting some love in the offense from Brock Purdy. Week 1, 6 targets. Week 2, only 3 targets. Then in week 3, 9 targets. So he's a consistent hit or miss. He's someone I like to call a consistent hit or miss. You don't know, any day he'll be at 0, 15, 30. You still have to start him. So it's just unfortunate the week that he doesn't perform. But he's an auto must start, and he might just play O-line for that week and might pop off that week. So good luck to all George Kittle owners. I didn't want to invest this year for that exact reason, but good luck to y'all. Last guy I want to speak on today, someone who has kind of, been up and down this year. And Mark Andrews only played 2 games, so 1 up game, 1 down game. It's very hard without the sample size. We don't have the sample size yet to know if these guys are going to have like a really good year, but we constantly got to speak on them and just let y'all know the thoughts, all that stuff. Ranked low right now at tight end 12, but he's a top 3 talent at tight end in the entire league. Week 2 versus Cincinnati went 5 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown. Week 3 came back to earth with 4 receptions, 35 yards, no touchdown. It's the same game, but he added a touchdown. If he had a touchdown in week 3, we would have been like, oh, that was such a good game for Mark Andrews. But because he didn't, it was just a mid-tier game. He was also coming off the injury report coming into Week 3 too, so that may have had a factor. But Lamar just decided in Week 3 versus Indianapolis that he was just going to take over and he was going to try to win the game for them, and he really almost did. Had a really good game. Didn't lead to Mark Andrews having a good game. He pretty much needs Lamar Jackson to have a good game anyways. But in the next 2 weeks, it doesn't get any better for him at all. He's playing against Cleveland. He's playing against Pitt. Two defenses that have shown that they're very fast and very skilled. I just don't know what to expect from Mark Andrews until he shows us a little bit more. Yeah, maybe he can start eating up early or late in the season when he's coming down the stretch with those easy games. But right now they have a lot of defenses to worry about, so he better strap in. That is going to be the end of the Patreon segment. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure y'all like and subscribe, and we appreciate y'all signing up for the Patreon. Comment anything y'all want to comment. I'll answer any question for sure, and hope y'all have a good rest of your day.